But as soon as I get it, I will get it on to you. I hear your complaints with respect to the firearm, and that was discussed with me after the fact. I was not aware that the tribunal had suspended all operations as a result of that exercise in terms of the person not lodging it. And I had raised with the security firm the idea of getting a strong box to leave the firearms, and I'm taking that up. I'm saddened to know that we had to suspend our tribunals at Queen Street, and we had to seek alternative accommodation to be able to do it, for the commission to do its work. Notwithstanding, I want to give the commission all assurances that I am in constant dialogue with all the parties concerned with respect to accommodation and meeting all the needs. I was talking to Dr. Rai earlier today about team building, and a couple of the senior executives, we are in a team building exercise tomorrow, and Dr. Rai was telling me he was asking to beg out. But I think even at the senior level, we need to have some team building, and in terms of working together to create the synergies that are necessary if the organization can do its work. And sometimes we don't have to wait for pen and paper or even forums like these to bring the needs to, if not me, but the other people who have been charged with the responsibilities. Because by the time sometimes the requests get to me, the damage has already been done. So that regularly, as I was telling Dr. Rai, you have my cell phone. I shouldn't have to hear from the commissioner or the chairman that something is needed. As you see the problem, you should be able to call me on my phone and say, if we have a good relationship, it could be Gloria, and I don't see it as any disrespect. Or if you're uncomfortable as Gloria, is DPA, you know, so and so happen, see what you can do now. And I can say, okay, Dr. Rai, okay, Kerry, if we get that, I'll see what I can do. But when we allow it to fester and it comes to relationship issues, at the end of the day, it affects the work of the commission. So from here onward, what I would want is that to be in the information loop now, rather than you talk to the Director of Corporate Services, I'm hearing about this report for the first time in terms of your met, she come down and promise. Just let them call me and say, DPA, you know, the commissioner's leader said the law journals, and I will tell you, Dr. Rai, talk with Mr. Khanna, because he's the legal mind. He would know what to buy. You follow? And you get it on to me, and I pass it across to the purchaser who purchased our books, our librarian, and she then go to specialists and get the books, and you can move quickly. So we shouldn't allow basic needs to impact negatively or to impede the commission or to stymie their efforts in what they have been mandated to do by the Constitution. So I hope from today onwards, in terms of working forward, we could have call me. My phone is always switched on. My phone is never switched off, sorry. Except I'm here, but it doesn't vibrate. So my phone is always on. So that, and I try as best as possible to return the calls. You can also text me. You can also send me an email, and I will tell you I would respond. So let us see what we can do so that we can put our collective heads together to assist the commission in doing its work. Okay?
Okay, yes.
The matter of the building and allocation must be taken, in my view, within government policy of decentralization. Am I right? Right. So therefore, we as the Police Service Commission is of the very firm view that we should follow the decentralization policy. More than that, many of our workers come from San Grande, Arima, San Fernando, all over the country. And therefore, to continue having them travel, which is a serious problem of traffic, continuously when the option is available, both in terms of government policy and in terms of availability to be relocated to St. Augustine, I would like the ministries concerned, and of course with the DPA help, to have us properly relocated, please. I have written the Ministry of Public Administration as a line ministry in terms of starting the process of property allocation. I have asked for a status report. I would like Mr. Madri to investigate Ms. Gillian McIntyre to find out where is that report. I have also contacted Dr. Munilal to see what property management can do with respect to the location at St. Augustine. We, the Commission and the staff, do not want to come to Port of Spain if it could be avoided. And I really want to emphasize that. We do not want to reach the stage when you put us in a building, we have to say no. So we're taking preemptive action so it will prevent some of the things you were talking about, that things don't fester and come to a head. So we're giving very early notice about what the official position of the Police Service Commission is. With respect to matters being dealt with informally and gently, we have exhausted those opportunities. And that is why it has to come to a head today. And that's the point I was making earlier on. Let us be preemptive, proactive. But we have tried those things. That's why you can say several of the things the DPA herself has been asking for. It's over 2 years now. So the system, as Mr. Khan and Ms. Cheeseman has pointed out, is dysfunctional. And that is why we are here today, not only on behalf of the Public Police Service Commission, but also for the Police Commissioner, for the Ministry, for the DPA, to sharpen and reconfigure our systems and our architecture. That's the word I used this morning. So with respect to the building, please, we do not want to enter Port of Spain if it could be avoided. We have a building already located in St. Augustine. Mr. Madrid knows about it. Dr. Munilal knows about it. It is available. It needs just one or two tweaking in terms of approval. The rent you're offering is very, very low, $6 a square foot, to be in detail. Right now, we paid $186,000 where we are. The rent that has been asked for in St. Augustine is just over $100,000. So there has to be some logic in this whole situation. I'm sorry to burden you with these details, but I don't want the bird to fly out of our hands by the discourse we're having here. Am I right? Am I right, Ken Parker? Harrison, am I saying the right thing? Or Harrison, am I saying the right thing? Or
Yes, sir. Yes, anyone else? Yes, Mr. Summer.
Evening. I just wanted to ask Professor that whether all the members of the commission are permanent or temporary. Are they what?
Part-time.
Part-time. They're all part-time.
Part-time.
including the chairman?
Including chairman. I zero in on the issue of the appeal powers of the commission because I think that's something we need to perhaps bring to the table to consider whether or not. I think the DPA had initially suggested that perhaps some consideration be given to the configuration of the commission to deal with this new constitutional power. Whether we change the structure of the commission to be permanent members full-time, increase the composition of the commission and create a special appellate division with properly staffed members. I think that would be an issue that has to be brought to the front and discussed. Because I think we have to recognize that the Police Service Commission is indeed, by virtue of the 2006 amendment, a different creature in comparison to the other service commission. Right. This is the only service commission with an appellate power. It changes its structure.
And the evaluation exercise.
Appraisal.
Okay,
Appraisal
right.
exercise.
But in its judicial capacity, it's in effect a different creature.
It is.
And I think I do take the point, I think that was raised by one of the speakers about the deficiency under sections 123F of that constitutional amendment. You have to bear in mind, I'm not making an excuse, but the legislation was highly political at the point at which it was passed. And it was a very hard-fought battle between the political parties of the day and the compromise that was reached. So perhaps in that context, some of the detail that was required to iron out the procedure may have been missed. This is an opportunity, of course, to discuss that and look forward. That's the first point I wanted to say. The second point a comment I want to make actually, I was a little surprised when I heard the DPA said that for a service commission that's the Police Service Commission that has such an important constitutional mandate that in its daily operations, for me, if I were to say so, pen and pencil, a request has to go to the DPA to get a thing like that. I think I'm a little bit surprised. I'm really taken back. And maybe the time has come for us in the review to consider, as a matter of policy, whether we should not create some separate entity to manage the operations of the Police Service Commission. It seems to me, in fact, when I heard what the DPA said, I remembered one single example given by the Police Service Association, the now Deputy Commissioner himself, Mr. Williams, in a case before the task force when we were doing the reform. He said that if in a police station a louver blade had broken. To get that louver blade replaced, it would have taken him 3 to 5 months to go backwards to the Ministry of National Security to get a simple louver blade that was over a desk, rain-wetting it. And, I mean, the members of the task force were quite taken back that, on a simple matter like that, the line ministry had the final say whether or not he got the money to get a louver blade. And I take it a little bit with some surprise that the daily operations of an important service commission in relation to its constitutional role is so circumscribed. I think we need to consider some mechanism or some means of dealing with the very daily operation of such an important service commission. And finally, I just wanted to point out to the members of the commission that the Law Review Commission, and perhaps to the DPA herself, tomorrow actually will be launching all the laws of Trinidad and Tobago on a CD-ROM. It will help tremendously for the research of the members of the commission in giving effect its mandate, its appellate mandate. So I just want to point out that to you.
Is it for free or?
Okay, thank you.
What's the cost?
I'm not so sure what the cost is, but I mean, I'm sure with the Ministry of Public Administration that surely some kind of accommodation to be created so that the Police Service Commission and the other commissions who do certain work in relation to the laws of Trinidad and Tobago be provided with copies. I see no reason why an important agent of the state should pay the state for something of that nature. I'm sure things can work out. I'm sure the DPA can speak to the Minister of Public Administration and accommodate it.
It is a matter of buying the CD-ROM. We have to buy it from our own budget. And I'm sure once
Okay. I don't think it's more than, I think it's about $5,000. But it will take the laws up to 2010 completely. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Those are the points I just wanted to make.
Welcome. I just wanted to add one point, is that, and I think by and large, those that carried you with the authority and power, whilst there was a haste to reform or transform the police service, the mechanisms to do that needs to be quickly revisited. Because I want to just point out what Mr. Khan has raised, the issue of remuneration for work done outside of normal expectations in terms of the commission. That has to be taken on board. It's nice to say, okay, we're going to look at it, but what is the time frame involved in that? You know, you're looking at what, 60-something appeals that have to be dealt with speedily. And that has to be, I think that should be addressed, you know, like yesterday. The other issue is that from a management administration point of view, is that when you are stymied, as you pointed out, Mr. Arico, when you are stymied with resources based on the operational system, the bureaucratic system, every morning you have to make a request for something. It becomes burdensome. It becomes burdensome. Right? Knowing the fact that resources are limited, that is the fact of life. Resources are limited.
Dr. Rai, just, and that may have been a point that I did not speak on, in terms of extra remunerations for performing extra duties. One of the first steps is to gather over the 40, how many matters? 8 matters heard, and the time that is involved and the level of work that has been performed. A dossier has to be prepared and sent to the CPU. It is only the CPU that can agree to the Salary Review Commission in terms of extra money to be paid to the commissioners. So I would want to suggest to you, maybe you could liaise with Mr. Khan and get some kind of documentation prepared, which can then be sent to the CPU with an appropriate recommendation so that extra monies can be paid to the commissioners in terms of hearing the appeal because of what is in the legislation at the moment. So that in terms, because without the approval of the CPU in terms of some reasonable payment, nothing can be paid in terms of extra money at this point in time.
Can I just add to that? That is one of the avenues available, but from my own experience at the Law Reform Commission, when the same issues arose in the volume of work prepared being done by the commission, in fact, I know of it because I was the drafting officer to do the note. The then Attorney General, faced with an argument from the former chairman of the commission, that the volume of work being undertaken by the commissioners, who were part-time, paid a stipend, should be increased. There was consultation with the Attorney General of the day, our line minister, and eventually a note went to cabinet, and the stipend, I'm not so sure if members of this commission have paid a stipend, the stipend was dramatically increased. In fact, it was increased by more than 100%. So that is also an avenue that is available to be considered by the Police Service Commission members and your, I want to use the word very carefully, line ministry.
May I ask Mr. Harry Paul, the Law Reform Commission are paid by SRC?
No, the members of the Law Reform Commission are paid by the line ministry.
There's a little different here.
Okay.
This commission is paid by the SRC. The terms and conditions are determined by the SRC.
Then we'd have yes, we would have a constitutional problem there. We'd have to go back. But even if cabinet and policy agreed, maybe the CPO might be able to accommodate them. Because what I've heard from council is that there is in fact a dramatic increase in the nature and the volume of work required by members of the commission. And having been part of the process, we did not conceive clearly under sections 123F the consequence of imposing on the commission the appellate power. And I think that's we need to take that into account. We have to be realistic that the volume and the nature and the quality of the work imposed on the commission has dramatically changed the face of the commission. And in fairness, remuneration is an issue that has to be considered.
Thank you. I want to invite Mr. Parker. So if you have, as you solidify your thoughts, perhaps Mr. Parker's contribution